Hey, welcome. Today, we're breaking down a really specific Instagram growth strategy. We're pulling from a detailed 2025 guide that's all about a technique promising just massive visibility.
So, you ever wonder how some Instagram accounts just seem to blow up overnight? You're putting out great content, you're engaging like crazy, but your growth is just kind of slow? Well, the guide we're looking at today hints that the answer for some folks is a very specific automated trick that's working behind the scenes. And that technique? It's called mass story viewing. The whole idea is actually pretty simple. When your username pops up in someone's viewed by list, that's a tiny, direct little nudge. The strategy is to take that one little nudge and multiply it by thousands every single day to get people curious enough to click back to your profile. Okay, but to really get why someone would automate this, we first have to talk about the problem it's trying to solve. And that's the wall you eventually hit when you're trying to do everything manually.
And wow, this slide really just lays it all out, doesn't it? The sheer difference in scale is huge. If you're really grinding it out manually, maybe you view 100 stories a day. But the way this guide presents it, automation just blows that out of the water, multiplying your reach by 20, 50, or even more. It's pitched as a way to turn this boring daily chore into a machine that's getting you seen 24/7. And it gives you the data to see if it's even working. So now that we've laid out the problem, the guide pivots right into the proposed solution. And it's pretty straightforward. Let's automate the repetitive stuff to get some real scale. The guide we're looking at zeroes in on one platform in particular, called Sharing Tools. And according to the source material, this tool is basically designed to handle the whole shebang, from finding the right people to actually viewing their stories supposedly in a safe way. And apparently, this isn't some tiny, obscure thing. The guide claims the platform has over 10,000 clients all over the world. So yeah, that suggests this whole automated approach has definitely found an audience. So, if you think back to those challenges with the manual grind, what the guide presents here is a direct answer to every single one of them. It frames automation as the fix, turning limited reach into massive exposure, swapping guesswork for AI targeting, and replacing inconsistency with a system that just runs and runs, all while trying to keep your account out of trouble. All right, so let's pop the hood and see how this thing actually works. What are the nuts and bolts here? How does a system like this really function? Okay, so the success of this whole thing really hinges on whose stories you're viewing. It's pointless otherwise. And the source document highlights some pretty advanced ways to target your audience. We're talking about going after the followers of your direct competitors, people using specific hashtags in your niche. You can even get as granular as targeting people in a certain city, which is a potential game changer for local businesses. Now, according to this guide, not all automation is the same. It breaks it down into two different types of tech. The first one actually uses real Android phones to mimic human taps and swipes. It's described as ultra-safe. The other method uses something called an API to interact directly with Instagram's code, and that one's all about high speed and massive scale. So it's kind of positioned as a choice. Do you want maximum safety or do you want maximum speed? And for those who want to get even more precise, the guide brings up an optional add-on, a tool called Hiker API. This is pitched as sort of the enterprise level upgrade. It's for scraping public data to build these super specific audiences based on things like who's most engaged or who has high quality followers. So how do you get this thing up and running? Well, the process is laid out as being pretty simple. You pick a plan, their team does the initial setup for you, and then your job is just to tell it who to target. Your competitors, hashtags, locations. After that, you just watch the dashboard and see what happens. And here's just a quick look at some of the example packages from the guide to give you an idea of the costs. You can see they go from a basic plan that uses one of those real phones for safety, all the way up to API-based packages for managing a ton of accounts, and even premium options that include that advanced HKIPI data tool we just mentioned. Okay, so that's the tech side of things. But who's actually using a strategy like this? Well, the guide breaks the audience down into a few main groups. First up, you've got your individual creators and influencers. For them, it's all about building a personal brand, right? And this strategy is pitched as a way to get their username in front of thousands of new people every single day. It's basically a shortcut to speed up that super slow process of getting discovered organically. And to back this up, the guide includes some testimonials. Here's a quote from a user who, according to the source, got some really great results using one of those real phone packages. It's meant to show how effective people feel the tool is. Next, we have businesses, both local shops and online stores. Think about it. A local coffee shop could use that location targeting to view stories from people right in their neighborhood. Or an e-commerce brand could target the followers of their biggest rivals. For them, it's all about generating leads and getting their brand name out there to the right people. And finally, you have marketing agencies. I mean, with plans that can handle 50 or more accounts at once, this tool is positioned as a perfect solution for agencies that have to deliver consistent growth for a whole bunch of different clients, all at the same time. So really, when you strip everything else away, the core idea in this guide is pretty simple. It's about using technology to automate the act of being seen at a massive scale. And the hope is that a tiny percentage of all that visibility will turn into real curiosity, profile clicks, and ultimately, new followers. And all of this leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to chew on. In a world where that first point of contact, that initial discovery, can be totally automated, what does authentic interaction even mean anymore? Where do we draw the line? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for diving into this with me today.